Passport Bros with Ugly Wives. That's the name of the video that I'm going to be reacting to. As a matter of fact, it is already a reaction video to, I guess, a Passport Bro video. Now, I normally don't watch them ahead of time because I do really want to do like a live reaction without preparation. But this is a relatively short video, so I did watch it ahead of time. Even though it's pretty short, there's a lot to unpack. And I will also be reacting to the original video that this douchebag is reacting to. Now, I am myself a guy who original Passport Bro term was designed for. I resent what happened to that term. I mean, I don't like the term, to start with, but I resent what happened to the term because what you guys see on social media is just a bunch of these losers coming here to Southeast Asia. By the way, welcome to my live stream. I'm streaming from Bangkok, Thailand, where I've lived for over 2 years now. So a bunch of losers come here and realize they can afford better hookers and sugar babies, right? So that's what you see, but that's not what original and real Passport Bros want. First of all, we would never put our girlfriends and wives on camera, and they wouldn't want to be on camera, right? We're here for traditional women, not the social media whores that you see in these videos. Secondly, we would never pick women who are in those Passport Bro videos that have tattoos and nose rings and their boobs are out and they're wearing short shorts. They're hungry for social media attention. That is not what Passport Bros are about. This is literally, we resent that. That's the opposite. And by the way, most of these guys, they come here and, as long as if you're not broke in America or Europe and you come here, you're already well off, right? Because, these countries are very affordable. So you can also afford a cheaper sugar babies, right? And that's what they do. A lot of guys don't even know how to not lead with money, how not to simp. So they come here and they think, oh, I'm a Passport Bro. Not at all. So let's dive into this video because there's a lot of interesting topics within the Passport Bro sort of a concept that it addresses. Not in the best way possible, but it does. So I will break it down to you. So let's get going. This is a TikTok creator. His name is Pickup Alpha. Again, I don't know if he's famous or not. Looks like he's got a nice setup, but I feel like anyone's got a better setup than me, and I'm okay with it. All right, so let's get going.
Hello. Can I get a noodle with chicken and eggs?
Yeah.
All right. So already I can tell you that, okay, so the title of this video, this is the original video, right? Day 97 of teaching my girlfriend English. Now, the one nuance that I always try to tell people about coming here and becoming Passport Bros, and by the way, if you want to know how to do that, go to the Million Men Project. Forgot my own URL. The millionmenproject.com. The URL is actually in the description of the video because it's not that simple, and guys think that it is. Now, first of all, the reason there are still some traditional women left in these countries is because they don't speak English. A lot of these women, they don't speak English, so they sort of protect it against listening to scam artists like Beyonce and Taylor Swift and having westernized and Western women as their friends to like corrupt the shit out of them, right? So, and overall, these are traditional cultures with family values. So if a girl is not exposed to American culture by speaking and understanding English, that's how you find these women. And I got to tell you, learning Thai is one of the most difficult things I ever had to do in my life. And it's frustrating. Actually, I have a Thai lesson right after this live stream. It is very frustrating, but you do that if you want to have access to those women. Women who speak English here they're still better and kinder and more feminine than American women or European women, but they've already gotten corrupted to the point where they're not worth the trip here. I mean, if you're already here, yes, but it's not worth the trip. It's the women who are protected. That's why, countries like Philippines, and I was just in Kenya earlier this month, where everybody speaks English, women there are kind of already, again, they're not as bad as American women, but pretty close, especially in Kenya. I was actually quite surprised how close Kenyan women were to American women. So I recommend that instead of teaching your girlfriend English, you learn Thai, Cambodian or whatever, Spanish, whatever language they speak in that country, because you have such a better chance of finding a traditional girl. And most importantly, it's not so much about finding a traditional girl, it's about keeping the traditional girl. That's kind of the problem with America. Can you still find a good girl in America? It's unlikely, but you can. What I've discovered is that you cannot keep her. The culture will crush her, and she will become the modern woman that you don't want, and you're going to have to get a divorce or breakup or whatever. So okay, so let's get going.
Very, very good. It's my favorite. My favorite. My favorite.
I don't want to.
So it is kind of funny. I don't know if she's is this Vietnam or Thailand? Well, it looks like by the food and the menu, it's Vietnam. But anyway, so it is funny how it is actually pretty common mistake that sometimes they just cannot pronounce some sounds. But I'm the last one to make fun of Vietnamese and Thai women trying to speak English. My Thai pronunciation is awful, just awful sometimes. Yesterday, I was trying to order a smoothie, which I order twice a day. But because I was in province, they're not used to foreigners speaking Thai, so they just could not understand me. I'm like, oh god, I suck. So not making fun. And again, even English is my second language. My first language is actually Russian, so this is the second time I'm learning another language. I'm not making fun of her. I like the look on his face though, right? That is a look on my face, and the look of a lot of Thai people faces when I'm trying to speak Thai with them. Now notice how he's dressed here, right? This is not a high-value men way to dress. And yes, it is hot here a lot of times, but listen, a soccer jersey, right? Oh, it's Thailand. Okay, so his soccer jersey is Thai, so maybe this is Thailand, but they're having some Vietnamese food. Okay, fine. And a baseball cap, but this is what tells me that this guy is just not a passport bro. He did not show up here, improved and high value man. He just show up here as the loser that he was probably back in America or whatever, and thought that, oh, things are just going to happen. All right. So, but I don't see any tattoos on her or stupid nose rings or whatever. So, not the worst choice. And she seems nice. All right. Now, this is the original video. Now we're going to get to this hater comments. Not all of his comments are actually unreasonable, so that's why I wanted to pick this video. As you can see, the whole video is just 42 seconds long, but there's a lot to talk about. All right, one of my haters is actually in the chat room. Welcome, Gary. Nice title. Yes, I know you would like it, so I did it specifically for you, Gary. All right, so let's get to the hater part of this. By the way, I wasn't kidding. This guy comes in and comments on every one of my videos. He does challenge me in interesting ways where I don't mind sometimes, but he's definitely subscribed to my channel for the good dose of hate, which I totally understand. That's fine. All right.
I don't want to sound like a hater, but question for all the white guys. They always say it's easier for them to date Asian girls.
Okay, so not all passport bros are white. There are quite a few black guys who end up here, and there are quite a few Asian guys from just Asian Americans who come here. So passport bros are not just all white guys, first of all. Secondly, it is not easier for us to date Asian women. Actually, I can definitely tell you that it's always harder to date traditional women, right? Because you have to be a provider, you have to make excellent and good decisions, not for just for yourself, but for your wife and your children, if you want to have children, but essentially for your family, sometimes even for her family. You have to be well-traveled and understand how to adjust to cultures. You have to learn a new language. You have to make new friends. You have to figure out how to live in this new country. So, all of this is much harder than to just date some random hoe that, you don't really have to be, a high value man at all. So it is not easier. What we mean when we come here, and by the way, passport bros don't just come to Southeast Asia, South America, Latin America, really, so Central America as well, and even Africa. Now, I just went to Africa, not impressed, but still, nevertheless, there's still some Eastern European countries as well that some guys come, because there are still some relatively good family values and traditional women who are still there kind of survived, so we don't just come to Asia. This was my choice, but it was my choice because I already had some friends who lived here and for many other reasons. But now I completely am in love in Thailand for many other reasons. So it's not easier for us. And
But every time I go to Southeast Asia and I see an interracial couple, they're always dating the ugliest Asian chicks.
All right. So this sounds like a hateful comment, but it's kind of true. So I've made videos about it as well before. I would say so it's like 60, 30, 10. All right, I'm just a rough justice here, okay? 10% of men here are like me, who are just actually here, improve themselves, try to learn the language, still dress well, don't have bad habits, all educated and all that stuff, who are genuinely looking for a traditional girl, right? Very difficult task, even here in Southeast Asia. Another, what I said, 60, 30, 10, right? So another 30% is just typical guys who come here just buy these women, right? That exists in every country, gold diggers, sugar babies, straight up hookers, whatever. So that's just standard edition. But 60% of the guys who come here, a lot of times they don't come here as passport bros, right? So they just come here for work or travel, and they end up staying for extended period of time. A lot of times these girlfriends are actually what's called holiday girlfriends. They're just like temporary relationships. And yes, I see a lot of these guys, even good looking, tall guys, young guys with money, all that stuff, with quite basic and flat out ugly girls. Now, this is the reason. At first I was like, what the fuck is going on, right? Is this, here's the thing. And, I've traveled enough now, over 30 countries now, and I've lived on 3 different continents. Here's my assessment of what's going on, especially in the last 5 years. And this is why I mentioned English to you, because a lot of the world now speaks English, and pretty much most of the world is connected to the internet. If you are a good-looking girl, right? We're talking about 8, 9, and 10, really good-looking, and you have a cell phone and an internet connection, you will, even by not a fault of your own, most likely become some sort of a hoe. Because as soon as you stick your head out to an Instagram account or be on a dating app or have a live stream on TikTok, a million simps from all over the world will, essentially flood your DMs and offer you money, trips, compliments, and you will be damaged within, hours and days. And like I said, I always offer you guys, just if you don't believe me, all you have to do is get on Tinder and, I don't know, AI generate or find some, pictures of a very average girl, post it on there, and then see what kind of celebrity-like attention you're going to get as this fake average girl. And then you will understand. So imagine you're a good-looking girl, actually. You can be living in a remote freaking village in Africa. As long as you have the internet connection and a camera, you will absolutely be simped for. You will be offered money, trips, and all of that stuff. So, it is pretty much most of the good-looking women know their price, and a lot of times they don't even know that they're just automatically kind of become hoes and gold diggers, and they're like, whoa, what do you mean you want to take me out for coffee? Every single motherfucker who took me out before, flew me out somewhere and bought me expensive dinner in a purse, Wait, you don't like me enough, right? And they don't even understand that what they're saying is just basically, yeah. So generally speaking, women who are still dateable, right, genuinely want a husband, genuinely want to fall in love and support their man, genuinely traditional, they're average looking girls. Some are better looking, some what I call it sometimes upgradable, right? You can maybe find a girl who's a 6 and a 7 and teach her how to dress a little bit, send her to the gym, watch some makeup YouTube videos, and she can become, visually, maybe on a high level, but a lot of these girls are, the rather dateable, are just very average looking girls. So if you want a traditional wife, just like that song goes, right? If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, well, I thought it was always a joke. It's no longer a joke. That's literally reality. right? So that's number one why guys date. And by the way, I mean, I don't have a girlfriend right now, but I'm casually dating several women, and none of them are beauty queens, but all of them are amazing. All of them are amazing, and just that's the reality, and I'm okay with it. By the way, it's if I find a girl attractive and she gives me peace and she's supportive and all that stuff, I think most guys would pick an average looking girl. The other phenomenon that's going on here, and I've seen this happen many times, when guys show up here, and like I said, they don't improve themselves, they don't try to lose weight or, dress better, even personality wise. So they come in here and, they haven't had much success with women or just sick and tired of women in America and Western countries. And they come here and the first girl who's just nice to them. I literally know someone who literally just got married to literally the first girl who was nice to him, because it's so rare in their lives that they think that this first girl is going to be the last girl and they should take it, right? Which I totally understand that. I totally understand it. In America, that's how you should operate. If you see a girl who is even remotely marriage material, you better drop everything you're doing. But here you don't. As a matter of fact, a lot of these guys don't even know that a lot of girls who come across as marriage material are not, because you don't understand the culture. They will all be very soft spoken, right? They will all cook you beautiful dinners, but there's some real shit that you need to understand that's behind all of that. And so because these guys don't understand the culture, they show up here and they get themselves into just a lot of troubles, or just take the first girl who smiles at them. And so that's why, you see these girls see these guys with not such good looking. Now, the girl in that video,
and the ones that the
hold on a second, let me just go back. The girl here, I mean, she's not ugly, I don't think. She certainly didn't put any effort into doing her hair and makeup or wearing anything nice. And that's how a lot of these women are. But I gotta tell you, he is probably, and by the way, I don't think he deserves a hot girl, because he looks like he's a loser just by visually, and the fact that he doesn't really understand that putting his girlfriend on social media in such a video is a bad idea. As a matter of fact, kissing a girl like this in public is already not acceptable here, and he should definitely know that, and she absolutely knows that. But she's not the ugliest girl either. You know what I mean? I think a lot of guys in America would take her, All right.
Always dating the ugliest Asian chicks and the ones at the most bottom of the socioeconomic level.
Yeah, so it's funny how this pickup alpha guy doesn't understand that these are the best women who are at the bottom, or they're not always on the bottom, but they're in the middle. I mean, maybe bottom speaking in terms of American standards. But these are the best girls. And I think, every guy who's worth anything knows that he would rather get a girl who works in the rice fields, right, but will make a great wife, than a girl who's a VP of marketing at an international firm, day and night. Like, as soon as, when I don't use dating apps that much, but when I did, and sometimes when I do, pick my head into it again, and I see the girl is like, oh, I'm working, I'm a marketing executive, or I have PhD. Immediately swipe left. I don't even need to look at the picture. I don't care how gorgeous she is. She is not a wife. She's not a traditional wife. So I'm surprised that this guy's never even heard of this concept. Yeah, we will absolutely take a girl who, works in McDonald's or whatever, or rice fields or whatever, that will appreciate us. And she is all about being about her future husband. She's probably raised in a very traditional family, rather than boss chicks that don't need no man, first of all, right? Secondly, their man is their careers, right? I mean, I'm talking, I made a friend here recently in Thailand, and the guy speaks Thai, by the way, which is great. It means he has access to the entire Thailand, versus men who don't speak Thai is 1% of women, right? And usually the worst type. And he started kind of seeing this girl who is, has got a career going on, not an executive, but got a career going on. And already, a second date got canceled because she had a meeting that she needed to attend. All of a sudden, she's now taken off for 2 weeks to go for some business travel, and so he's going to have to wait around. which I told him he shouldn't. So it's just like these girls are nothing but trouble, and we absolutely have them here in Southeast Asia. There's not every single girl is a traditional girl here. We have plenty of Americanized, westernized girls who are not at all a wife, traditional type of material girl. This is why I stay away from women who speak English. And every time I come across one, which was like 3 days ago, sometimes, you like the girl visually, you start talking, and she just ends up speaking pretty good English. And I was like, all right, we're already talking. But every time I get knocked down on my ass by those girls because they're like, I end up acting like American women within sometimes even hours, So I can give you a quick example, maybe a little bit later in this live stream. So yeah, no, we absolutely want to date. I don't even care where in the world you are. You're better off dating a girl who is at the bottom of whatever he calls us, than a boss chick. And also, your job is to provide, right? And you can easily provide for a girl who doesn't make that much money, and you can fulfill your responsibility as a provider. But if the girl decided to become a man and grow dick essentially, and get a career and start making her own money, well, you can't really do your job, right? Because she already did it for you. And so that's why that type of a traditional family model and dynamic does no longer work. I'm just surprised he doesn't really understand. All right, GP is watching me from the San Francisco Bay Area. That's where I'm originally from. I spent most of my life there. One of the most undateable areas, I think, in America. But let me know how are you doing over there, and maybe you already have a significant other. But welcome to the live stream. All right, let's. We have still a lot to see. We're only 20 seconds in, and yet I already spent 22 minutes on all this bullshit that's happening here. All right.
Like, can you not tell Asian girls apart, or do you?
That has nothing to do with not. We can definitely tell them apart. That's why we pick the girls that we pick. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a cheap blow, by the way, for someone who's also Asian, but not really. You know what I mean? Asian looking, but thinks like a total white bro. All right.
You guys actually like that? I don't get it, because most of the Asian girls that I meet speak perfect English, studied abroad, went to international school. Their family.
Yeah. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is a typical American bro who has no fucking idea what a good woman is, and just used to dating women who are most likely, even though his channel is called Pickup Alpha, but if he's dating those type of women, he has to be a simp, or he has to be a John, meaning like he pays for these women as essential hookers, right? If you define a woman, if you define a prostitute as a woman who essentially requires you to compensate her in one way or another for her company, for her time, she is a prostitute. So guys like this are usually either simps, or they pay for their women one way or another. And this is why they don't even understand that they live in this matrix that they can't get out of. That's why this whole movement is called the red pill. You just to wake this guys like him up and say, you're in a matrix, right? You think that these women who speak perfect English and went to international schools and come from, I think he says that what does he say? Like their family's own businesses. Why do you give a fuck?
Family owns a business. But
yeah, why do you give a fuck if her family owns a business? That only means that now she's used to money that her daddy is giving her. Now you're the sucker who's going to be giving her money next instead of her daddy. Like, he doesn't appreciate money usually. Like, these guys live this in this universe, and this is like majority of American guys, unfortunately, where they don't even understand that all of these things that he is bragging about, like, my women speak English, my women, have jobs and careers and stuff like that, specifically careers. And it's like, dude, you're bragging about like the wrong stuff. And you're trying to put us down for figuring out that those women are trash as far as wives are concerned. They might be great executives. They might be great at their jobs. They're probably great doctors, but they're not good as wives. And yet you're sitting here and telling me how those are the women that you should date. No. Dude, come here. Like, he looks like he visits here, but he doesn't really visit here. I mean, I would love to take a guy like this around and show him like the real submissive women and why those are the women that you want to date. And I'm sure he also dates hot chicks. I'm sure this guy's number one thing on top of his list, not like peace right? That's the number one thing you should number one thing that you should require from a woman, that she gives you peace. This guy, I guarantee you, and he probably uses this language, is he wants a hot chicks, right? He wants hot chicks, and he's willing either to simp for them or pay for them, which is the only two ways to get hot chicks, as I mentioned earlier in this live stream, or usually both. Usually both. He does talk like a rich bro, right? Who probably made his money on finance. Like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. He does seem like he might be relatively, known. And I don't know who he is, but I know he's a douchebag and an idiot and a simp, most likely.
Like, why do you guys keep picking girls that look like they work in a rice paddy?
No, I just explained this to him. I wish I could explain it to him, straight up. We love those girls. We love girls who work rice paddy. Okay, so
Hello.
yeah, so this is interesting, and just generally speaking, it's interesting how much people like me get attacked, right? Because it's the weirdest thing to get attacked for, because our concept is, hey, we don't like something, right? We don't like these modern women. We don't like their attitudes. We don't like that they're no longer wife material. We're not here to like attack them. And we literally did the least confrontational thing, and we just got up and quietly left, right? We didn't yell at them. We didn't punch them in the face. We didn't we just left. We're like, no, thank you. No, bye, goodbye. We're going to go to women and places where we appreciate it, and the women are actually, submissive and subservient and kind and feminine, and I know what a good man is. Some of them still do, and traditional, and all of those things. And we just left. And it's weird how people are consistently going after us. And usually it is Western women, right? Like lonely Western women who see that there are less and less men that they want, because a lot of men either go back to playing computer games and their hobbies rather than date Western women, or they do what I did and many other men did, right? Just get the fuck out of there, create a new life somewhere where you actually have a great dating pool, or at least an acceptable dating pool. And that's it. So all of this hate is so weird, but specifically, when it's a dude who's hating on Passport Bros, I just don't really understand. But like I said, he does bring a very interesting point, because I was definitely, until very recently, I even kind of came to this conclusion that you really do look out there and you see these guys, like I said, I'm an old short dude, right? So I mean, but I see these tall, good-looking guys in shape. They're young. We all kind of have money here, with some exceptions of there's some people who come here and they work as teachers, but still they make pretty decent salary, right? So, and I see them with like the most basic chicks, and I'm like, wow, you can do better in America visually, which I think they can. But then if you just keep your eyes on them for a little bit longer, especially if you're sitting at the restaurant, coffee shop, you see how that girl takes care of her man. You see how soft-spoken she is. You see how feminine she is. You see that, but you don't hear her. The way she talks, you're not going to hear. Every goddamn time I'm around Western women here, because like, let's say I'm gonna go to like a Mexican restaurant and there are a bunch of, foreigners there. And, I just hear the extra loudness and obnoxious and entitled way how Western women speak, right? These girls, you don't hear them. They're so soft-spoken, they're so kind. And then you sit there, you go like, you know what? I see why he is with her. I see how much peace she gives him. She truly loves him. She's all his, right? She adores him. When I see really good-looking women, whether Western women or Thai women or whatever countries I'm in, when I see them hang, in a couple with a Western man, even of the same type, right? It's a completely different vibe. It is a completely different vibe. They're rarely loving. They usually act entitled. Their voices are already higher. The way they're dressed is unacceptable a lot of times, even though like these are Thai women who absolutely know how unacceptable they dress, tattoos all over the place, and they still do. And those guys allow that, right? As a man, you should know that a woman represents you at all times, and even when you're not around, especially when you're not around. So when your girlfriend dresses like a hoe, that says a lot about you, you know? What it says about her is that, like, yeah, she's a hoe. She's making money off of that dude over there. I get it. No, whatever. But the real negative view that I'm going to have is of that guy who picked this girl. And I get it. She's hot. I get it. But what you have to pay for, and not just with money, really with your soul, is how you pay for it. Definitely with your money too. Don't get me wrong. They absolutely require so much more investment, right? And that's what I observe all around the world. There is no such a thing as, like, my last girlfriend in America of like 7 years. She was incredibly, unbelievable, beautiful. Like, wow, right? But that's when those beautiful women were still humbled. They still didn't really want to be hoes, or didn't really have an opportunity to be hoes, right? And you could get a good-looking girl who is actually kind and submissive and all those things. But that's over. And even here, it's still a race against time. And that's why I always recommend, listen, before you even come here, learn whatever the language of this country that you go into, because it will serve as a protector, as a wall, cultural wall around this girl. So she's still, you know, traditional. And most importantly, cannot stress this enough, will continue to be traditional for a while, right? All right, GP answers my questions. He says, I agree 100%. It's a dating desert out here. We're talking about San Francisco Bay Area, where we're both from. I gave up on it decades ago. Now, I got to tell you, I think things started to go south about 7-8 years ago, and have really gone south, especially after COVID. So before that, I've dated in the, you know, in San Francisco Bay Area. It has always been a difficult place to date, but I felt like I could always compete for what I thought was best women that I liked. So it is for me, was okay until very recently. He also says, go where you treated best. You know, I saw this one video somewhere, and it just really resonated with me and what GP is saying right now. You know, it's about a bottle of water, right? Here's a bottle of water. This is mineral water. And you know, if you go to a grocery store, it is 50 cents, right? If you go to a restaurant in America, what is it? $1.50, right? If you go to a nightclub, it's $4 or $5 sometimes, right? And if you want to buy it in the first class on the premier airline, when you're up in the air 10,000 feet, it's $10, right? It's the same bottle of water. It's the same bottle of water. It's the same water inside for sure, right? But it's a different setting. It's how much do you want the water and who's paying for it. So this is kind of the same thing. And I think I said it in my live stream yesterday. And by the way, thanks for some of you joining me on daily basis nowadays. I am streaming every day. You know, it's 1:30 p.m. here, by the way. Let me know what time it is where you're watching me from. So you know, that analogy really kind of stuck with me because that's essentially, you know, in America, I have always been what they would call a high value man, right? Educated, not bad looking, in shape, makes good money, you know, comes from a good family, well traveled, doesn't have bad habits, doesn't have kids, never done anything wrong, have a good track record in my previous relationships, all those things, right? And I was considered a high value man. But guess what? I am no longer, and men like me are no longer high value men, because value is determined by the market, right? And the sellers, I mean, buyers specifically, the buyers on the market right now, you know, obviously in the dating market, are women. And now women don't see all those things, your education, your hard work, and all those things. They don't see those things as what they value. So therefore, I fully admit, you know, that I'm no longer a high value man in America, but I am in a lot of other parts of the world where women are looking for that same list of a traditional man who's looking for traditional women. And that's why I moved, right? You know, all these guys in America screaming, I'm a high value man. No, you're not anymore. You're not. It's pretty sad. And you know, when they say, well, Passport Bros just couldn't get a girl in America, concede it. Absolutely. I could not get a girl, a good woman in America. Because these women don't know what a good man is and whatever. I mean, like I said, it's kind of a crazy to argue about women's preferences, but their preferences have changed. Preferences of women here are still within sort of traditional, role, gender roles type of a scope, I would say. Now, GP says that I got my 20-year Thai elite visa, I'm assuming, locked and loaded. So you're moving here to Thailand. So Thailand is one of the few countries that will offer you a visa that you can buy. I am on a 5-year visa. It costs a pretty penny, don't get me wrong. But you can extend it, or you can buy right away a 20-year visa. And that looks like that's what you did. This is great and after 50, you can move to a retirement visa. So you can stay in Thailand for the rest of your life as long as you don't do stupid shit here. So that's one of many reasons why I came to and stayed in Thailand. But I also absolutely love the people, love the culture, love the healthcare, love the fact that it's extremely safe, love women here, love the weather, love the beaches, love Bangkok in particular. So I'm just in love. I am in love. So especially, okay, so I'm not really sure chosen one. He says, especially in Philippines and Thailand, nobody cares. Clarify that if you don't mind. And he says that I'm a passport bureau turning into a Asian passport bureau turning into South America passport bureau. So yeah, that is absolutely a way to go, because Spanish and Portuguese are much easier to learn by far. If I would have put these 2 years worth of effort of learning Thai into learning Spanish, I would be, absolutely fluentos. Is that how you say fluent in Thai? It's just, the next message, she says, I am learning Spanish. Good for you. My only problem with some of the Latin American countries, they're just not as safe as like here. It is so safe. Oh my God. It's, in America, as much as I hate guns, I ended up getting licensed and carried a gun everywhere I went, in all states where I was licensed to carry. Here, I freaking leave my laptop and some of my jewelry and sometimes in my phone in a coffee shop in the middle of a busy mall to go and get a haircut and come back an hour later and not even think that they may not be there. Day and night, right? So Latin America is a bit tough for me, but like I said, women are still traditional. A lot of them don't speak English, which is perfect. And learning Spanish and Portuguese, I believe, is spoken in Brazil, right? Is definitely much, much, much easier. So he said Latin America is where it's at. Yeah, I'm not giving up on Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe is definitely it's getting invaded. Right. Jay Smith also says, talking to Chosen One, I love Spanish women and I have to look into Europe as well. Yep. He says, I'm in Thailand now, been in Thailand and Philippines for 10 years. I need a huge makeover. Medellin is becoming my spot. I don't know what Medellin is. Now, I have to say that Philippines and Thailand are very different. First of all, different religion. Okay. So because of that, I feel like there are a lot of nuances and cultures, obviously, and I like Thailand a little bit better. Obviously, Philippines is where women speak fluent English, and that's a problem for me. I think it should be a problem for everybody because they are already infected and exposed by the Western culture, and they're much, much tougher today. Very few of them are still traditional because, again, speaking English, understanding English just rapes their minds into a Western woman and they become undateable. That's my number one. My number two is just generally, Philippines to me is not a livable country. The standard of life, including crime, including transportation, healthcare, even food. I'm just, it's not. Maybe I'm spoiled. I lived in California most of my life and now live in Bangkok, Thailand. Maybe I'm spoiled by all of these amazing things here. And Philippines, I just can't live there. I can't live there. Just forget about women. Women are absolutely beautiful. And actually, I would prefer Filipino women to Thai women, but I just, I can't. And when I did go to Philippines, and I think I'm going to go one more time later this year, just to check it out one more time and see if there's any difference that has happened over the last couple of years since I spend there, it is, yeah, he says, I agree, it's rough. It is rough in many different ways. And like even getting an apartment, like here in Thailand, we have top of the line, skyscrapers. I live on a 30th floor in an amazing brand new condo with an amazing view out of my bedroom. You don't get that in Philippines pretty much. Like it's yeah. Now it's funny that you mentioned you're in Pattaya. I don't like Pattaya. Pattaya is where the worst, I feel like, women are for sure. And other foreigners, the quality of foreigners is very low, and therefore the quality of women is really low. To me, Pattaya is just a red light district of Thailand. So I've been there a few times, and it's really almost impossible to find it because every girl in Pattaya have been propositioned by a foreigner to give them money or too much attention or whatever. It's too many foreigners and tourists there. Pattaya is not for me at all. Like I don't even go there to just for the beach, even though that's probably one of the shittiest beaches I've ever seen. So Pattaya is not the place I would recommend to look for a wife. Million, where you live? First time on this channel. So I live in Bangkok, Thailand. Absolutely love it here. I am here as a permanent. I call it home. It's my only home. I moved here, just celebrated 2-year anniversary. But I've traveled around the world. Like I just went to Africa, and so I've been to like 31 countries now. So I lived on 3 different continents. I was born in Russia, then I lived in America, and now I live here. So I feel like I have a pretty good sense of the world, I guess. Not the best, but pretty decent. So this is my home. Dating here obviously has got its own challenges, and especially like again, I'm an old guy. Learning a new language, which is considered to be one of the most difficult languages to learn, is not easy. It's very hard. So I'm still trying. So a lot of times, it's rough. And I used to date black women in America. So switching to a Thai women are a very different type of women, right? So switching my preferences to Thai women has also been a bit of a challenge. But I love this country so much. It's not even about the women anymore for me. And definitely still a lot of great choices. All right, Max says, you know what? Let me change this a little bit to how can I? All right, so I'll do this, and then I will put this on the screen. All right, because we're done with that. When you're a passport bro, you have the pick of a litter, so there is no excuse not to secure a decent looking chick. Even the local bro guys aren't picking them, so why are you? So that is not true. What do you mean pick of the litter? Most, like I already explained, most good looking women in the world, and definitely here in Thailand, have already become hoes, even though they didn't want to become hoes. They just, by definition of being good looking girl who has like an Instagram account, they got flooded by simps and money and invitations and vacations and, and all of that stuff. So they get corrupt within days of getting on a, dating app or just even an Instagram or live streaming on TikTok. I mean, just look, all you have to do. So I'm learning Thai, right? So I try to watch some live streams. Because those are pretty simple sentences that people use, right, when they live stream. Man, every other live streamer here in Thailand, especially at night when Americans are awake, are women. Quite average looking, but some are better looking than others. And if you look at the comment section, right, during those live streams, you would fucking throw up. All the simps come out and simp and give compliments and trying to get a hold of them through a DM, sending them roses, sending them money, inviting them to all kinds of trips, So every single good-looking girl in the world is either a hoe or a hoe in the making. So you can't really date good-looking girls anymore if you want just a genuine connection. Okay, so those times are over. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, okay? So at best, if you want a real traditional woman, you can date a cute girl, right? Cute girl who can once in a while clean up pretty well, and that's up to you to teach her, right? So, and on top of that, these guys who show up here, they show up here as simps and losers who just lead with their money. And that's why, they either end up paying for good-looking girls or they end up with uglier girls because they don't have any game. You know, they still like, they dress like that guy in the video, right? With a hat and a soccer jersey. That's not how a man attracts a woman. You dress like an 11-year-old boy. You know, I'm sure he's wearing shorts and fucking sandals over socks or some other shit, you know? I dressed like this when I was 7, but I grew out of it. So these guys are just essentially just not able to attract those women because they have not improved themselves when they showed up here. They thought just having a pulse is good enough. It's not. So that's why. So I don't want to make excuses for them, but that's a reality here. Nas says, the prettier the girl, the more toxic she is. I mean, I literally just said that essentially everywhere. That's why you might consider more modest girls for marriage. I agree. I myself am shooting for a 6 or 7 who, you know, all of a sudden loves me and falls in love with me so much. Then when I say, honey, you know, here's a couple of makeup tutorials on YouTube. Here's a gym membership, or I have 2 gyms in where I live. You know, maybe a pair of heels will help. You know what I mean? And these women would love to do that for you. These women would love to look their best for you. And so when you start dating a 6 or 7, and you know she actually put some effort into looking better for you and her best, you know, you end up with a pretty decent looking girl. And I got to tell you, I think for a long-term relationship, looks don't matter as much. As long as you're physically and sexually attracted to a girl, you know, you're good. But yeah, the times of dating hot women who don't know they're hot, or they're still like, you know, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, gentlemen. GP says, please go to the BGC in Manila, Alex. It will remind you of Singapore. Singapore is one of the few countries I have not been here in Southeast Asia. Myanmar, obviously, because there's a war there, but Singapore is pretty much the only one. It's next on my list, probably September. And honestly, I don't think I'm going to be a big fan. Sounds like America and Asia, but I do love Princess cruise ships because I'm an old fart. I'm actually platinum level. So there's the only place that it docks and or at least cruises out of here in Southeast Asia. So I'm going to go to Singapore and I'm going to see. But BGC in Manila, I only went to Cebu City, and I'll probably end up going back to Cebu City when I go to Manila, because when I go to Philippines, because Manila is just too much crime, too much crap. I might, but it might not be for me. But point taken, absolutely. Chosen One says, Bangkok is Pattaya on steroids. I don't see much of a difference. Oh, I think these are 2 different places. I think Pattaya is all about sex tourism. It's a lot of sleazy foreigners, and most women are in some way or shape or form, a lot of times, involved with selling their bodies and looks for money. You know, I don't look at that even as Thailand. Bangkok is whatever you want it to be. We do have Pattaya inside of Bangkok, right? Essentially, Sukhumvit, Nana Plaza, you know the places, right? You've seen them in hangover movies, right? But we have a lot of very normal Thai neighborhoods. We have a lot of modern Thai neighborhoods. We have a lot of parks here that have a pretty chill lifestyle around them. We have a river where lifestyle is a little bit more chill and more actually modest, I think. We have some really, rich top of the line areas here, better than even in America, right? So Bangkok is kind of New York, kind of like Los Angeles. There's so many different parts of it. It's really all about what do you want to make out of it. So, but Pattaya just has Pattaya. You know what I mean? So I disagree. I think if you go back to Bangkok and discover some real neighborhoods here with some real authentic neighborhoods, even the type of women and people you see there is going to be completely completely Nice, you were into black women. That's what's up, brother. Yeah, no, I absolutely. This is why one of the reasons I went to Kenya. That, and I wanted to see wildlife, like giraffes and zebras in the wild, and that part delivered. Women there, again, because they all speak English, they're pretty much Americanized. I budgeted a month to be in Kenya, and I left after 2 weeks. I stopped by Egypt to see the pyramids, but as far as Kenya was concerned, I was done in 2 weeks. It's just not a good country. I did not enjoy being there. I did not enjoy the culture. I did not enjoy the attitude. I did not enjoy being a white guy. In a country there is just that you're not even a human being to them a lot of times. So yeah. Mac says you could get a very good-looking girl in a rural area provinces. You don't think I tried? You don't think I was in province last night? I go to province quite often. That myth is over, because as soon as a girl, like, I got to be very, clear with this. As soon as a girl realizes she is good looking, which as soon as she gets an internet connection on her phone, right? That's it. She can be in a rural area, but she can get a bunch of Sims sending her money out of America, out of Great Britain, or whatever, right? She's already a hoe. She's just a hoe who doesn't have to actually physically do her job, right? You understand what I'm saying, right? And this is what happens the most, right? Good-looking women in provinces, first of all, they get snatched up by Thai guys, right? Also, it's not like Thai guys don't like hot girls, right? And there's plenty of good-looking, rich Thai guys here, or just guys with, swag, who can just land a good-looking girl, right? Except for these guys speak Thai. They will always live in Thailand. My Thai still sucks. And women, I have to prove to women that I will live here forever and not going to bail on them and dump them like most foreigners do. So, and so what happens to these girls? They end up going to Pattaya, for example, right? Make money on their looks. Come here to Bangkok, make money on their looks. If not directly being a hooker, in many other ways, like hostess in high-end restaurants who will flirt with customers. So dude, it's over. It's over. So even I cannot do that anymore. Sorry. Don't be picking them up from the city, bars, and I'm definitely not bars. Okay, definitely. And I'm speaking more, and the Philippines don't care much for Thai women. Yeah. I mean, Philippines, like I said, I've already tried. Listen, I'll give you an example. So I was in the Cebu city, right? Cebu city is a relatively small city with very few foreigners, and foreigners who are there are usually like really old guys, like over 60, right? But most of women who live there are actually young women, because Cebu city is, is full of call centers, right? When you call Amazon and you hear a Filipino person on the other end, I was actually at that building where most of them, work. So, and so I went to some lounge, and this one girl came up to me, very young, and 19 years old, right? And she was with her family. So we started talking or whatever, and we ended up spending a few dates together. And she was very nice. She was very nice, but something just didn't click. And I thought, well, you know what? Let me go back to Thailand, and we'll continue talking. And we'll see if something develops. I can come back or invite her over, no problem. And as we were talking, I kind of realized that she doesn't really know how to like treat a man, like an older man. So I was like, well, let me teach you, right? And she just wasn't teachable. I just gave up on her, right? And then in about a year afterwards, I think she just saw one of my stories. She started talking to me, how are you doing, whatever. We kind of reconnected. Okay, she's 20 now. I know it's not that much of a difference, but maybe a little bit more mature. So I talked to her, and by then, within about 2 days of talking to me, she asked for money, right? And my rule, and that should be everyone's rule, as soon as a woman asks you for money, run. That's it, done, right? So I dumped her, obviously. But, I'm just saying, and this is, by the way, she lived in the province of Cebu City. So she wasn't even living in this tiny little city on an island, right? She was living in a province of that city, right? Pretty much no foreigners there. And yet she already learned how to be a hoe. Good looking girl. But this is where it all ends up, right? Only Thais can speak Thai. That's a huge self-improvement learning for one country. Yeah, well, I love this country, and I want to live here, not just for the women. I want to live here for almost every single thing. My life was great in America, but this is a whole new level of heaven living here. Just Thai people already, I can tell you, they make me a better person every day. They make me a better man every day. It is absolutely a pleasure to live here on a daily basis. And there's a million other perks. So yes, I'm learning Thai, not just for the women. I'm learning Thai just because I want to have Thai friends. I want to be able to, and I already can order at the restaurants and have a small conversations here and there. But I want to have friends. I want to be able to interact at any point in time. I want to go to provinces where nobody speaks English whatsoever. So yeah, That's why I'm learning Thai, but it's going to be a minute until I'm good at it. Nas says, prettiest girls that I dated never appreciated anything you do for them. Modest girls are more down to earth and try to please you. I agree, though that wasn't the case before. Like I said, I think I've always dated very good looking women, way, way better looking than me. But you were able to find and date them because if you're a good man, right, with good qualities, and you genuinely take care of them, right? And I don't mean just financially, right? You were able to land a good looking woman who would rather go for a good man, who is decent looking, who is decent shape, maybe not too tall. I'm 5'8" only, but they know the value of being with a good man. Now, none of that fucking matters whatsoever, so it is what it is. Okay, Chosen says, I love black women. They are exotic. So by the way, exotic women don't like to be called exotic. I always they're like, hey, why you call me exotic? I'm like, that's very exotic to call you exotic. What? So yeah, but yeah, I love black women. This is, like I said, I've that's why I went to Kenya. I tried dating some black women here in Thailand, but they're mainly Western. They mainly have that same attitude. I'll tell you my last interaction with a black woman here. So she wasn't the best looking, I have to say, but we'll see. So I hit her up. It wasn't a dating app, actually. OkCupid, right? Because I used OkCupid when I was in Kenya, because that's the only app that I know of where you can change the location ahead of time. And I wanted to start talking to some girls before I went to Kenya. So, and I still had it open, and so I basically said, hey, hit her up. I said, oh, do you permanently live here, or are you just visiting, right? And she's like, live here. I'm like, okay. How long? 2 years. And by the way, it takes her like 6 hours, like a while, many hours to reply. I said, okay. I said, well, where are you from? And that took an entire day for just like the next day, right? Which to me is already a deal breaker. If you're replying once a day with one word or whatever, and she replies Africa, I'm like, bitch, are you fucking kidding me? Where in Africa? Why, like, is this like even an adult conversation? So basically, I just unmatched her, right? Just like no reason to, and so that's the experience from an African girl. A lot of times, like an American girl who lives here. And this is a phenomenon that I've made many videos about. And I think I have one more coming up, is where these Western women come here, see what it takes to get a man, whether a Thai man or Western man, and do nothing to change. In over 2 years of living here, I have only met or even heard of one Western woman who came here single and got wifed up. All other women, and I'm just about to make a video just because there's so many posts of these women go like, oh, I've lived here for, I was so popular in America or Britain or whatever. All of a sudden, all these men, simping for me. Essentially, what they're not telling you is that all of these men were simping for them. But I'm here in Thailand and I haven't had one date, because none of us, Thai or Western men, want anything to do or will ever take a Western girl seriously here, because even though they come here, they know that it's a different culture. They see all of us, right? With Thai women, they see how Thai women behave to become wives. And these Western women want to change nothing, right? Like the way this girl replied to me, and again, she's a Westerner, she's a black girl, and let's be honest. I don't know if there's anybody besides me here in Thailand who would prefer to date a black girl in Thailand, right? I don't know if I'm literally could be her only choice, right? Because one, nobody prefers Western women in the first place. Two, Western women who are black. That's right. So she cannot be choosy at all, right? I could have had one eye, one leg, and another baby coming out of my nose or something like that, and I would still be a pretty good choice for her, I think. And yet she behaved like she's a fucking supermodel in LA. And that's why it's impossible, right? Chosen One says, when I was in Colombia, 50% of my choices were black women. Dude, now don't get me reaching out for Expedia.com here, okay? That's right. I agree with you. I like big butts and I cannot lie. But, I don't even like big butts. I just like butts, which sometimes is hard to see here, right? That's right. Philippines and Thailand does fall short. Though Philippines got some booty there, you know. Thai women compared to Filipino, night and day. Thai women are too flaky and lack stability when we speak for a long time. Trustworthy partner. They too free spirited and is quick to listen. I don't think there's difference of women that much from one country to another. You know, so I can't really. I do find Filipino women much more attractive than Thai women, but they're still good enough good-looking Thai women for my taste here to stick around. I can also go to Philippines, and if I find a girl there, it's not that big of a deal to kind of move her here if that makes sense. I do have to say that Philippines is the number one country every year, takes the award of the most cheaters, which is amazing here because most women here, I feel like, don't even like sex to start with, much less, have sex with one guy and then go and cheat with, it's just really weird. But now says every girl asks for money eventually. No, that's not true, man. No, I've dated women here, even casually, for, almost 2 years, out of, well, I'm a little embarrassed to say this. I am seeing 5 women right now, but they all know about each other, by the way. Please don't call me a cheater. The ones that I've dated the longest, never, ever, none of them ever asked for money because they wouldn't be with me, by the way. As soon as a girl asks for even 20 baht, which is like 30 cents, we're done. We are done as soon as she asks for money. So no, there's plenty of girls who won't ask for money. So that's fine. Lee White says foreign chicks stink. Context, maybe you want to, can you talk to like an adult? Guys, I don't mind entertaining some alternative ideas here, but you have to speak like an adult, not like a drunk 5-year-old. So if you want to clarify, please do. This really message was for Lee. White, that depends on country. In Latin America, they shower more often than in America or Europe. Wow, I didn't know that. Interesting. Max says, my advice, don't use any dating apps when trying to hook up abroad, especially in third world nations. Well, okay, so the reason I use the dating apps is because, I was trying to start some conversations and also just understand the culture ahead of time. I started 2 months before coming to Kenya. So that was the only way how you could do it, right? I also got into some expat groups and I met some girls through that, way. But so there was no really a choice to do that, right? But once I got there, it was relatively easy to ask women out. And as a matter of fact, at least once a day, something that never happens in Thailand, a girl would come up to me and ask me for my number. Now, they would still ghost you and stand you up on dates, which is insane, but that did happen multiple times. So that was the only way for me to kind of start filling the place up. That's where the scammers are. Yeah, but scammers are everywhere. You don't think that girls are trying to scam you in person? As a matter of fact, the most dangerous interaction with women in Kenya would be in person. There are plenty of women who will, you can take them home and they can poison you and rob you. That happens all the time. You can be in a nightclub and, get rub against a girl too close and you will lose consciousness and wake up without your money in your apartment or someone else's apartment. So scams are everywhere. The keys to avoiding scams is not to be a simp, right? Have no problems walking away from women, and don't use drugs or alcohol, get stupid or whatever, respect the culture and all those basic things. And then you'll never be a victim of a scam. Just put boots on the ground and do it in the old-fashioned way in person. I did that, but like I said, it's the result. People say, well, dating apps is not reality. No, dating apps is reality. I got to tell you, the number of times that I get ghosted or stand up on dates or, other bullshit after meeting a girl in person and after meeting a girl on a dating app, it's pretty much the same. Dating apps are essentially the reflection of reality, which is not great. Even here in Southeast Asia, people think that, you just show up and things just happen. No. NASA's dating apps are fine. Just have to filter out the scammers, and there's a lot of them. Yeah. Scammers, hookers, unless what you were looking for, women who don't know what a good man is, women with tattoos. Yeah, you have to filter out a lot. And that's why, like I said, I don't have Tinder installed on my phone or Bumble or whatever. I just have a local one installed for Thai dating, and OkCupid, because when I travel, that's the only dating app that you can switch the location and get a sense of, what's going on in that country, and maybe even get a couple of conversations going. Not the most productive way to do it, but it's better than nothing, right? Because you show up, you need at least 3 or 4 days to get things going, just to figure out where you're at, the culture, how to meet girls and all that stuff, right? But if you're talking to 2 or 3 girls or whatever, you can start meeting them almost right away. Like you can land, drop your stuff off at the Airbnb, and meet a girl at a coffee shop for a drink that you've been talking to for a while. So that is a possibility. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. I did not expect a crowd today, but I am streaming every day. I'm going to try to do it, which has essentially been 1 p.m. Bangkok time. So every day I review videos and the Manosphere, Passport Bro, Red Pill, and all that stuff. So tomorrow will be another video that I'm going to review. I don't know what it is yet. So if you have suggestions, please absolutely send them my way. But then let's continue that conversation tomorrow. For now, I gotta go and get some. Actually, I've been into this banh mi, which is like a Vietnamese sandwich, which is not big in America. In America, it's mainly like pho, right? But here, I love it. So I'm gonna pick that one up, get my smoothie in the neighborhood, and then I have my Thai learning class, and then we'll see what happens after that. So thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Hopefully, I will see you tomorrow at around the same time. All right. See you guys later. Peace.